guys, welcome back to my channel. I am back with another review. This review is for The Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 15 Reunion Part 2. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. So much went down in this part of the reunion, so let's just get right into this review. So at the very beginning of part 2 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, Drew and Courtney are getting into a pretty heated back and forth because Courtney is pretending like she knows the ins and outs of Drew and Ralph's marriage, even though she just met Ralph this season. She starts saying that Drew is projecting when she says that Ralph is cheating because she's actually the person that's been cheating on Ralph. And I'm confused as to why she's saying this because Ralph and Drew have been together for 9 years and Courtney has not been around for not even 1 year out of the 9 that they've been together. So I don't know why she thinks she knows everything that's going on in their marriage. And Drew ends up losing it on Courtney at this reunion because they ended up showing the clip of Courtney saying that the only reason why Drew wanted Ralph to adopt her son was because she wanted to be able to lay up in the house with her lesbian lover while Ralph paid all the bills. And I thought that it was really distasteful of Courtney to say something like that because Drew's son has nothing to do with this. And then on top of that, it's like her son is going to be able to see this one day. So I thought that it was really distasteful of Courtney to say anything like that. And Drew knows that Ralph is the one that's coaching Courtney to say these things about her on the show because she told Courtney this during the reunion. And she says that the reason why she knows that Ralph is the one telling her to say this stuff is because a lot of what's coming out of Courtney's mouth is things that Ralph has said himself. And I believe that that's true. I believe that Ralph is absolutely coaching Courtney on what to say about Drew because Courtney doesn't know Drew like that. They didn't really build a bond on the show, and she just met Ralph and Drew, so it's like she can only be getting all this information from Ralph, and I just think that it's weird that she's going so hard in the paint for him. It's like, is that really somebody that's in your family, or are you messing around with him? Because it's kind of seeming like she's messing around with him because she's going to bat for him a little bit too much. Courtney was just running her mouth a little bit too much for me because she was saying that she knew Ralph was going to divorce Drew before Drew even knew because he told her that all he needed was enough evidence to prove that she was messing around with Ty Young in order for him to go through with the divorce. But I know that he's lying because I know that he didn't want to be with Drew way before Ty Young ever even popped up in the picture. If you watch the show for the 3 seasons that they've been on there, you can tell that Ralph has been checked out of this marriage for a really long time. He just needed something like this relationship between Drew and Ty Young in order to make sure that he benefits during the divorce. Now, Drew did end up saying that she went to visit Ty Young. She said that she flew out to Texas and went to one of Ty's games, but that was it. But both Candy and Monyetta ended up saying on the stage that Drew told them while they were filming the movie that, Drew said that Ty was her girl crush. But I don't understand why they made that girl crush comment such a big deal because at the end of the day, a lot of girls have girl crushes on people. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're messing around with each other. And I'm not saying that Ty and Drew don't have a relationship with one another, but I'm just saying that just because she said that Ty was her girl crush to them doesn't mean that she was messing around with her. And then on top of that, I just feel like Drew needs to really rethink her friendships on the show because it seems like a lot of the people that she thought she was cool with on the show are throwing her underneath the bus. Things end up getting even more messy at this reunion when Sheree ends up pulling out this really big envelope. Now, she claims that somebody she doesn't know who ended up leaving this envelope at her doorstep and says that inside the envelope are printouts of text message conversations between Drew and Ty. Now, she ends up showing them to Andy, and Andy says that some of the text messages are incriminating, but says that he wonders who actually left this at Sheree's doorstep. Now, Drew feels like it was Ralph that left this at Sheree's door, and I believe that it probably was Ralph, and if it wasn't Ralph, he had something to do with it. I believe that it was either him, Courtney, or Mimi that did this because I feel like all 3 of them are working together in this situation, but I know that it was really messy for Sheree to actually bring them to the reunion because you don't know if those are real text messages between Drew and Ty, and even if they were, I don't understand why Sheree would want to be a part of it. Now, during this reunion, Sonya and Kenya get into a little bit of a heated back and forth because Sonya says that when she had her miscarriage, she had reached out to all the ladies in the group and told them about it, and the only person that didn't respond to her or send any flowers was Kenya, and she says that she was really hurt and surprised by that because her and Kenya were both trying to have a baby at the same time, and she said that they were really supporting each other throughout that process. So when Kenya didn't reach out to her when she found out about her miscarriage, she felt some type of way about that, and I would feel some type of way about that too. I don't think that it's right that Kenya did not respond to Sonya when she said she had a miscarriage. But at the end of the day, Kenya does have a lot of drama going on in her life right now. She's still going through this divorce with Mark, and they've been going through this divorce longer than they were even married. So I do think that she has to give Kenya a little bit of grace. But Kenya claims that she did reach out to Sonya. She said that she tried to call Sonya and Sonya didn't answer the phone. But Sonya claims that that never happened. And so I guess we'll never know if Kenya really did reach out or not. Now, Sonya claims that her problem with Kenya is that she tries to be her friend on camera but won't be her friend off camera. And Kenya accuses Sonya of the exact opposite. She says that Sonya tries to be her friend off camera but won't act like a friend on camera, because they ended up showing the clips of Sonya talking negatively about Kenya to Sheree and Marlo. And basically, this was after Kenya had helped her raise money for her organization. So obviously, Kenya felt some type of way about that. But Sonya says that she wasn't actually talking trash about Kenya. She said that she was pointing out Kenya being kind of a hypocrite, because Kenya got upset at the fact that Marlo had brought up that the guy that Kenya's dating was in her DMs, but then she did the same thing to Sheree before Marlo did it to her. So she doesn't understand why Kenya was upset about Marlo doing it to her. And basically, I do think that Sonya was right. I do think that Kenya was being a little hypocritical about that situation. But at the same time, if somebody just helped you raise money for your organization, I would think you wouldn't be talking negatively about them. Marlo and Kandi ended up getting into a bit of a back and forth, because Kandi felt some type of way after they ended up showing the clips of Marlo starting trouble with her, because she felt like the other ladies tiptoe around Kandi. When Drew referred to the shooting that took place at Kandi's restaurant as an incident, that really irked Marlo's nerves, because she feels like people don't want to get on Kandi's bad side, and that Kandi doesn't want to show anything that doesn't make her look good. And so she decided to bring up her nephew's shooting that took place 2 years ago. He used to work at Kandi's restaurant, but he wasn't working at Kandi's restaurant at the time of his shooting. He hadn't worked there in months prior to him getting killed, and so he ended up getting shot at his home by his roommate, not at Kandi's restaurant. But Marlo tried to tie Kandi and her restaurant to the shooting of her nephew, and so that's the reason why Kandi ended up having an issue with Marlo. Now, Marlo tried to say during this reunion and throughout the season that she felt like Kandi was not supportive when her nephew passed away, but I don't agree with that, because they did end up showing the clip of Marlo going to visit Kandi after the situation took place with her nephew, and Kandi was sitting there letting Marlo vent to her. She hugged her, she was giving her comfort and support, but because Kandi didn't call her sister and give her condolences or send any flowers, that's the reason why Marlo feels like Kandi didn't do enough. But I feel like Kandi did just enough, and I feel like Marlo's just trying to make Kandi look bad, because she feels some type of way about Kandi, because she gets more backlash from the show than Kandi does. People really don't like Marlo that much, and I do feel like Marlo has a little bit of jealousy towards Kandi, and Kandi did end up saying that through this reunion, but Marlo obviously denied it. But Kandi basically said that she doesn't want to be cool with Marlo. She said that if they're in the same place, she's going to be cordial just so they don't fight, but that she really doesn't want to be friends with her anymore. And honestly, I don't blame Kandi for that. Kandi ended up having to check Sonya during this reunion, because Sonya ended up jumping in when her and Marlo were having a back and forth trying to defend Marlo, and Kandi got tired of it, because at the end of the day, Kandi and Sonya were building a friendship, and then all of a sudden this season, Sonya ends up linking up with Sheree and Marlo, and now every second she's defending Marlo all the time. And so Kandi got tired of it, because she feels like she's been arguing with Sonya, not because they have issues with each other, but because Sonya's always coming in to try to take Marlo's side all the time, and she honestly feels like Sonya should stay out of it, because Sonya claims that she's neutral and friends with everybody. And honestly, I don't feel like Sonya's neutral. She picked a side. She's on the side of Marlo, Sheree, and Courtney, and so she needs to stop pretending like she's neutral when it comes to the other ladies, because she's not. Ralph ended up joining the reunion, and you can tell that Drew wasn't happy about him being there. She said that he came there specifically to try to make her look bad, and that's exactly what he came there to do. He tried to come out on stage and act like he was upset and be serious about the fact that he's upset that they're getting a divorce, but I don't believe for 1 second that he's upset that they're getting a divorce. I believe that he's wanted a divorce for a really long time, and he waited until this situation with Ty came up to be able to do it, and I don't feel like he's upset about it at all. I think he's been checked out of their marriage for a really long time from what we were able to see, so I don't understand why he was on that stage being fake. And then when Drew said that she didn't understand why Ralph was there, Andy ended up jumping in saying that they invited him to be there, and I think that that's really messy on their part because they really didn't need Ralph there. Courtney was already there speaking on Ralph's behalf and trying to make, Drew look bad, so I didn't think that it was necessary for Ralph to be on the reunion. And I can understand if Drew decides not to come back to the show next season, because them inviting Ralph to me was just messy. Now, because Ralph came out there saying that he came there specifically to tell the truth because a lot of lies were being told, Andy decided to test whether or not Ralph was going to be truthful or not. So he ended up asking Ralph if he's been faithful to Drew the entire 9 years that they've been together. And at first, Ralph didn't give a clear answer. He basically said that if he was cheating on Drew, that information would have already been put out there. And because nothing has been put out there, obviously he's been faithful. But I don't believe that for 1 second, and this is just my opinion. But we've seen numerous amounts of times that Ralph's story doesn't add up. We've seen that he's had inappropriate relationships with other women, and Drew basically confirmed that in this reunion. So I don't understand why he got up there lying. Just because that information hasn't been put out there yet does not mean that he has not cheated on his wife. That just means that nobody's come forward yet with the proof that he's been cheating on her. Now, Drew ends up getting upset about that and says that she's actually the one that's been faithful the entire 9 years, and Ralph ended up bringing up Ty, and that really ended up upsetting Drew because she claims that throughout the years that they've been on this show, she's put a layer of protection over Ralph. And I could see that because if you watch the show from the beginning of them coming onto the show, you could see that Drew really didn't want to put too much information out there about her marriage to Ralph. And, whenever the producers would ask her during her interviews if she felt like Ralph was being truthful or if she thought that he was cheating, she would say no, she didn't think he was cheating. And yes, she thought he was telling the truth, even though you could tell that she didn't really believe that. So I don't understand why he is not being protective of her when she's been very protective over him. Drew ends up getting really emotional during this conversation and says that Ralph has always chosen other women over her, and that he's always put her in bad positions when it comes to other women, and that he's embarrassed her on numerous occasions. And then she said that the reason why he quit couples counseling is because he didn't like that the counselor was holding his feet to the fire. He didn't like that he was being called out on his bad behavior, and that's the reason why he didn't want to continue. And that's the truth. He definitely has embarrassed Drew numerous amounts of times that we were able to see, probably more that we weren't able to see. And then on top of that, he obviously does choose other women over her because he sat there and protected Courtney over her when she told him that she was really upset at the fact that he called her a bitch. I don't understand why he would think that he didn't have to protect his wife from somebody that he claims is his cousin, because if that's your cousin, you should be able to tell her not to talk to your wife that way. And he didn't do that. He sat there and protected Courtney in that situation. So I can tell that she's being really truthful and she's really letting out her feelings that she's been holding deep inside. And he basically dismissed her feelings and told her that she was acting because she was crying. And that really pissed me off, and she ended up storming off on stage, because at the end of the day, just because she's an actress doesn't mean that her tears are fake. And I just don't think that it's right that he tried to dismiss her feelings like that. Drew does have to stop being so naive, though, because at the end of the day, Ralph sat there on that stage and said that Drew's assistant is the one that told him that she had a relationship going on with Ty Young, and she sat there and said that that was not true, that he did not say that. And then when Candy and Marlo both jumped in and said that it was her assistant that was telling people that she was messing around with Ty, she still was denying that he said it. And it's like, if multiple people are telling you that this man said that you were having a relationship with Ty outside of your marriage, then he probably did say it, and you need to look into that. Stop saying that it's not true. I believe he probably did say it, and I think that Drew needs to start being careful who she has around her. She needs to start making her assistants, security, whoever she has around her, sign NDAs, just like the Kardashians do. Now, when Andy ended up bringing up Ralph going to Las Vegas because one of the producers on Drew's music video that was oiling his body up so that he can shoot some scenes ended up inviting him to go to Las Vegas to audition to basically be a male stripper, he said that he didn't go there to audition to be no male stripper. He said that he was already going there for a business trip, and that that was just an option for him to go there to audition, and claimed that that was just something that Drew ended up making up. But Candy said that Drew wasn't making it up, because she ended up calling one of the people that are in charge of the strip place that he was going to go work at, and they said that it was true that Ralph was coming there to audition, and Andy said the same thing. So I don't know why Ralph was trying to come up there and lie. Honestly, I think that he made himself look worse by showing up to the reunion. He tried to make Drew look bad, but he really ended up making himself look bad. Because Drew did end up saying that Ralph has been doing bullshit in their relationship since 2017, like disappearing for days and her not knowing where he is and not hearing from him, and other women contacting her about their relationship with him. So she says that he's not innocent. Now he ends up deflecting from all of that and telling Sheree that he wants to see the text message exchange between Drew and Ty that she brought to the reunion. And I don't know why he's pretending like he didn't already see those text messages, because I'm pretty sure that he had something to do with those getting on Sheree's doorstep and the reason for them being at the reunion. So he was being fake and phony. Now Drew gets so upset about this that she says that she doesn't understand why he keeps bringing up her and Ty when he told her recently that he's been getting blowjobs from all around the world. And he basically tried to deny that at first, but then Andy asked him again if he said that to Drew, and he said yes, but it was just something to say, and that it's impossible for him to get blowjobs from all around the world because he hasn't been all around the world. And I'm like, he made the biggest mistake coming on this reunion, because he really made himself look terrible. When Andy ended up bringing up to Ralph the comments that Courtney made about the reasons why Drew wants him to adopt her son, he ended up saying that there's only 3 reasons to adopt someone else's child: abuse, abandonment, and death. And he says that her son's father wants to be a part of his life, so why would he adopt him? And my thing is, I don't understand why him and Courtney are trying to float this idea around that Drew wants him to adopt her son so that she could lay around in the house with Ty Young while he pays all the bills, because Ty wasn't even in the picture 2 or 3 years ago when this conversation came up about her wanting him to adopt her son, because wasn't he writing a book about it? He was trying to make a profit off of, adopting her son and being a stepdad. So I don't understand why now he's trying to change the narrative around. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Now, Kenya was the only person who defended Drew when it came to Ralph at this reunion, because everybody else seemed to be here for him, dragging her on the reunion and throughout the show because they wanted to get the tea. Kenya was the only person that stepped up and checked him, because at the end of the day, he was trying to sit up there on that stage when Drew ran off crying, saying that he's always supportive of his wife and always protective of his wife. And Kenya immediately compared him to Mark and said that he acts like Mark. He dismisses her feelings, acts like her feelings don't matter, and is not protective over his wife. Now, Ralph was trying to deny this, but, Kenya came back and said, well, you're sitting over here feeding information about her to her enemies. Courtney does not like Drew and has disrespected Drew. And when Drew brought it to Ralph's attention that she didn't like that she was calling her out of her name, instead of being protective of her and telling Courtney not to refer to his wife as a bitch, he sat there and took Courtney's side. And he tried to say that Courtney's his cousin and that they're building a relationship with each other. And Kenya immediately clapped back at him and said he doesn't even know that woman. And that's the truth. He does not even know Courtney. I don't know how he knows her, but I know they met throughout this season claiming that they're related to each other, and they're not related to each other at all. That was already exposed. So I was just glad that Kenya spoke up. Kenya told Ralph that he's always siding with Drew's enemies, and that the only way that Courtney, who is Drew's enemy, could have gotten any information negative about her was through him, and so he needs to stop playing games pretending that he's this supportive and caring husband when it comes to Drew. And I agree with Kenya 110%. Kenya is not always right, but when she's right, and I'm glad that she at least spoke up in defense of Drew. So those are my thoughts on part 2 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. Let me know what you guys thought about this part of the reunion down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos and hit the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all. And until next time, I will talk to you guys in my next video.